This is the impressive Elizabethan Oakwell Hall in Birstall, West Yorkshire. We'll take you on a walk through the delightful historic rooms, furnished as if it were the 1690s, giving an interesting insight into life in the late 17th century. Oakwell Manor was purchased by Henry Batt, a wealthy businessman from Halifax, in the 1560s. He made his fortune being an agent for wealthy landowners and wanted to join those circles. Not all his business dealings were deemed to be honest. His son John inherited the home in 1572, demolished the old building, replacing it with this beautiful Elizabethan house in 1583. You can see his initials and date carved on the wall of the porch entrance. By 1607, John had died and his son Robert took over. He rented out the hall in 1611, and an inventory of the contents have helped it to be displayed similarly to the period 1690, with a mixture of original and reproduction furnishings. This is the impressive Great Hall, the main thoroughfare of the house linking the two wings. With little furniture, it was a large open space to impress visitors. The second John Batt inherited the house in 1631 and would make improvements, opening up the upper floors to become a balcony and adding this wonderful south-facing window. A landowner's court would be held here throughout the 17th century. You can imagine people watching the proceedings over the balcony, listening to estate disputes as tenants were summoned and fined for things like killing pheasants or taking rabbits from the estate land. The 17th century oak gates on the staircase were to prevent dogs getting upstairs. The great parlour would have been the most important room in the house and decorated accordingly. The inventory shows it had the best furniture. As well as dining, it would have also been used for entertaining guests. The room originally had a highly decorated plaster ceiling, but unfortunately it was destroyed in 1883 when a chimney fell through the roof during a storm. The oak panelling has been painted, giving a three-dimensional appearance. The great parlour chamber for the master of the house. This bed from 1590 would have been one of the most expensive items of furniture, with its elaborate carving and thick curtains. The copper pan holds coals to heat the bed like a modern-day hot water bottle. The room had the luxury of a garderobe, a toilet in the outside wall. People used to hang their clothes in the garderobe as they believed the smell kept the moths away. Table and chairs were not unusual in a bedchamber, being used for entertaining and card games. The Batt family supported the Royalists in the Civil War, and parliamentarian soldiers marched by the windows on their retreat to Halifax in June 1643. This room was once much larger, but altered in the 19th century to add a passageway. The bed dates from 1525 and is on loan from the Victorian Albert Museum. Known as the Westmoreland bed, the curtains and covers were embroidered by friends of Oakwell Hall. This tiny study on the balcony was used for house accounts. Interesting records of the time still exist, detailing events and purchases like 2 shillings for mousetraps from York and 1 shilling and threepence for half a lamb. The painted panelling in this room was recently discovered under several layers of paint, similar to those in the great parlour. The room might have been used as the mistress's chamber. There is a table by the window to obtain maximum light for sewing or reading. A home of this size and grandeur needed to be able to accommodate overnight guests, and this room is laid out as such. The furniture and fittings are again quite elaborate, highlighting the wealth and importance of the owners and offering a guest luxury and comfort during their stay. In contrast, this room was for the servants to sleep in and where food was stored. It had no panelling and no ceiling. The kitchen was directly below it and easy to access via the back stairs. With no fire, it would have been very cold in winter, with maybe just a small amount of heat coming up through the floorboards of the kitchen. The kitchen would have been a hive of activity all day. When the house was first built, food may have been cooked over the fire in the Great Hall, but by the 17th century it was a separate room. At mealtimes, servants would gather along with estate workers and tradesmen to eat off wooden platters. This is the new parlour dining room next to the kitchen, so food did not get cold. The family would be served from a side table. This cupboard holding the family pewter, plates and maybe expensive spices under lock and key. They would eat cold cuts, bread and butter for breakfast, with the main meal at lunchtime when the light was better. Meats and fish courses followed by sweet or savoury desserts. A supper would follow later with more meats, fruits and cheese. Oakwell Hall sits on 110 acres of land which is now part of a country park, and you can explore it at your leisure. The gardens within the property consist of a walled garden, orchard, arboretum and more. The hall is also famous due to a visit by Charlotte Bronte in the 1830s. So taken by the property, she featured it as Fieldhead in her novel Shirley. The vintage car parked in front of the hall was part of a photo shoot for a wedding in the grounds of the hall. You can visit the grounds of the country park daily to have a wander. The hall is open for just a few hours on the weekend, but completely free to visit. You can find out all the information here. We hope you do pop by to this wonderful and surprising property the next time you're in West Yorkshire. Join us again for more from our Yorkshire travel series. Thanks for watching the Memory Seekers.